Fishing Podcast, presented by Onyx, broadcasting from the Prairie Sportsman Studios. Today's show is brought to you by Lake of the Woods Tourism. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Show off your pride for the outdoors with new gear from the Sporting Journal Radio store. Go to sportingjournalradio.com, click on store, and browse our selection of hoodies, hats, mugs, and more at sportingjournalradio.com. Well, my social media feeds are currently filled with giant sturgeon from the Rainy River, and that means the fishing is going well up there. It's also the walleye season is closed right now, but it's going to be opening back up as we gear up for that Minnesota fishing opener here in just a couple of weeks. And to tell us a little bit more about fishing up at Lake of the Woods, Joe Henry joins us from Lake of the Woods Tourism. Joe, how's it going?
Hey, Brett, it's going good. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm a little jealous watching all these guys catching big fish.
I'll tell you, it's been really good. I mean, now that the spring walleye season ended April 14th, that was the last day that you can catch and release walleyes in the Rainy River. So now, of course, everybody's head, if you want big fish, turns to sturgeon up until the Minnesota fishing opener. And holy smokes, has there been a good sturgeon bite?
Yeah, I know we've been going up there for the last couple of years, and I remember either it started to get more popular or people were showing off their big fish, or there was just bigger numbers of bigger fish. We were just, hitting that cycle of all those conservation efforts that went on so many years ago that you can see the effects of it now, maybe. But every year it seems like there's more and more bigger fish getting caught up there, Joe.
I think you're right. I think spot on. And I think the DNR knows the fish are there. They monitor sturgeon populations very closely. They do a very good job of monitoring growth rates, size of the fish, how many fish they estimate are in the system, et cetera, et cetera. And it all really started with, number one, they got rid of commercial netting for sturgeon, and then secondly, when the Clean Water Act got some teeth, as my understanding was, there was a lot of pollution going into the Rainy River. And when that Clean Water Act got some teeth, you could really see those two things combined, the sturgeon increase in numbers, and also you start increasing in size. And they weren't netting out the big sturgeon. Did you know that at one point in time, Lake of the Woods produced the majority of caviar, sturgeon caviar, and one of the top producers actually in the world, it's my understanding. And there was really a big market for it. My understanding is steamships would pick it up and distribute it through Canada, and oftentimes some of that would go to Europe. So it was big business. And now that's gone away. Our sturgeon are just thriving.
How big do you think that fish was that got shared from Riverbend? Did we talk about this last week? I can't remember, but
yeah, it was actually, I think the people were staying at Borderview, and I think everybody shared it.
That's right, Borderview.
This sturgeon, this person was carrying, was over 70 inches long, but the girth on it was like a human being. When I tell you it was as wide as a human being, that thing was just, it was huge. And I would bet, and I don't know for sure, but right now the DNR has a catch and release record for sturgeon, muskies, pike, and channel cat, and I would bet that could have been a potential state record.
It could have been. That state record, I think, is 78 inches, but
not the girth.
But not the girth, because I just edited a segment for Prairie Sportsman about that state record catch and release sturgeon, and it was 6 inches longer, but it didn't have the girth that this one did up on the Rainy. So I don't know. I would have liked to have seen a girth measurement, but you know what? It was a great picture. I'm sure it was a great time. And when I shared the photo of that fish, I don't know how many people sent me messages saying they were there watching it.
Really?
Oh, there was all kinds of people that were there watching. Oh, I watched the whole fight. Yeah, so that would have been fun to see.
Cool. It's totally fun to see. I'll tell you, it's funny because even this spring, with the walleye fishing going on, right away when things started opening up and the ice, the boat ramps were open on the river and such, the sturgeon bite was crazy. Walleye anglers were catching sturgeon like you wouldn't believe. So then, of course, some sturgeon anglers, dedicated sturgeon anglers, showed up, and the bite was really good. And then the bite kind of went south for a while, and now the bite is picked up big time again. I talked to some friends, and they were fishing at the mouth of the Rainy River, and they said, you could look around, and there were people catching sturgeon all over the place. And it's just been really good. And for people that haven't fished sturgeon, the biggest thing you need is just the little bit heavier duty rod and reels, and you can pick up some things that aren't real expensive if you want to, because it's kind of like catfishing. You can pick up very average priced, catfish rods and reels and such, and use the same stuff. Hook it up with 50, 60 pound test, and then just get a sturgeon rig, Brad. And really, a sturgeon rig, you can buy them up at Lake of the Woods. The bait shops and resorts have them. All it is a no roll sinker, so it doesn't roll in the current. A no roll sinker that's conducive to the current. Right now, that might be about I say 4 to 6 ouncer, based on current. And then it's an 18-inch lead with a circle hook, like a 4 or 5 aught circle hook. That 18-inch lead is made of 60-pound test leader material, and then you have that circle hook. And the reason a circle hook is so important is because it's a conservation hook. You don't set the hook real hard on a sturgeon hook while that, or a circle hook, I should say, while it's down in the gullet of a sturgeon. What'll happen is that sturgeon takes in a little bit deep. When you reel up and just tighten up that circle hook, what'll happen is that circle hook will find its way out to the lips of the sturgeon and normally hook that fish in the lips, which of course is going to save the life of that sturgeon over time.
How are the water conditions up there right now? You talk about the current flow. What's the current like, and what about water clarity?
Well, so water clarity is much more important when it comes to walleye fishing than it is sturgeon fishing, just because sturgeon are primarily using their sense of scent to find their bait anyway. So even if it's dirty water, they'll find that scent trail from your bait and follow it up. And a lot of times you can still have a really good day of fishing, even though the water's dirty. But the water is cleaned up quite a bit. It was clean at first, and then it got dirty, and then it got clean, and then we had rain, and it got a little bit dirty again, and now it's getting clean again. And then as far as the current goes, because of the rain we had, the current is a little bit heavier than when we first started the season out. So it's not, it's like a normal year, even a little less than a normal year. So it's not crazy, but it's more than when we first started. When we first started the spring season, the water was extremely low, and the water has come up now since our rain, and that was well needed, quite frankly.
I'm surprised we're talking about the fishing opener already. I can't believe how close we are.
Yeah, well, Saturday, May 15th is our fishing opener. And, everybody up at Lake of the Woods, of course, is extremely optimistic. I mean, look at the fishing we had for walleyes in the river this year. We got a ton of walleyes, caught a lot of huge fish. I mean, a lot of big fish, 28 to 32, 33 inches. I mean, just really, really, really big walleyes. And, we know those fish are there. Some are going to be in the river yet. Some will be, out in the main lake, but those fish are around. And, of course, the fishery's strong. So we're excited. Yeah, the other thing about Lake of the Woods on the opener is that, it's not as crowded as people would think. It's still colder. It could be a cold day. It could be a warm day. You don't know. But the opening day doesn't get a ton of people up at Lake of the Woods. There's room if you'd want to come up. What a fun bite, though, because it's a jig bite. And normally those fish are still close to shore. So whether you're fishing the river, whether you're fishing along that south end of the lake and fishing close to shore, up in the northwest angle, you're going to be adjacent to points and islands. I mean, there's fish to be had, and that jig bite, anchoring up and jigging over the side of the boat, man, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. Would you start in the river? If you went up there for opener, would you start in the river and then maybe work your way out into the lake?
Depends on where I'm staying. I mean, if I'm staying at a resort that's on the Rainy River, I would probably check the river out or 4 Mile Bay. But I would just go do a little bit of a milk run, figure things out. You get a figure. The first morning, make a good guess on what you think those fish will be doing and anchor up and jig. But if you're not getting her done, hit 4 Mile Bay and then hit the lake. And then if I was staying along, the South Shore or over by Rocky Point and Zipple Bay, that area, heck, then I would just go out and get out in front of those areas and anchor up. Normally those fish are hugging that shorelines and anywhere from, 10 to 25 feet of water, and just go out and find some fish with your electronics and go jigging. Normally, anglers do real well. Again, up at the angle, neck down areas, the Flag Island Flats, Little Oak Island, that whole area, there's lots and lots of spots to fish. But I mean, neck down areas where there's a little bit of current, points. There's some pretty good spots to fish that you can do a milk run, and eventually you're going to run into some walleyes.
So, how was Paul's grocery run in Manitoba last week?
Oh, well, yeah. So Paul Colson of Jake's Northwest Angler Resort, if people don't know, we've been having some issues with even our residents of the Northwest Angle going back and forth now because they put in some new regulations for COVID testing for Canada. And now even our residents of the Northwest Angle are having a little bit of an issue going back and forth for necessities. So the latest is they told our residents, Canada Border Services Agency, that when you go for necessities, you can go from the Northwest Angle, which is America, into Canada and get your health care and your groceries. But you can't go down to, the United States where you normally would get them. So we were just kind of scratching our heads on that one. So Paul Colson said, hey, if that's what you want me to do, that's what I'll do. And he happened to meet a BBC reporter there. And no, I'm sorry, not BBC. I think it was Canada Broadcasting Corporation, CBC. And but he met a reporter there, and they did a whole story on Paul and Karen Colson going grocery shopping in Canada during a pandemic when things are flaring. And it makes no sense at all, but it was really just to bring to light the inconsistencies or the lack of common sense that's going on with some of those decisions right now. But hey, we'll get through it. We're working on it with officials, and the one thing I'll say about the Northwest Angle, tell you what, Brett, as you know, fishing up there is just incredible. And if people want to go through a little bit extra effort to get up there this summer, it's not going to be as crowded and as it could be. Certainly, it's not that crowded anyway. There's only 12 resorts, but it's the Lake of the Woods passenger service, which is a charter boat system that goes out there. Lake Country Air has a flying service going out of Baudette now that just hops the lake real quick. That's a great option to get up there. And but tell us, we know from the winter, fishing's been good.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Well, if people want to learn more about those services to get up the Angle or staying at a lodge on the river, the lake, or up at the Angle, where should they go for more info?
Yeah, you know what? The Lake of the Woods Tourism's website, Brett, lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
This has been the Finding Fins Fishing Podcast, part of the Sporting Journal Radio family. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts or go to findingfins.com and make sure to like our sponsors. Hey anglers, looking for a destination where walleyes, fresh air, and fish fries are a way of life? Look no further than the famous waters of Lake of the Woods. From Baudette and the Rainy River to the main lake up to the Northwest Angle. Here you'll enjoy the best walleye catch rate in the state. Maybe you'll pursue world-class sturgeon, pike, or muskie. Plus you'll find lots of full-service resorts offering charter boats, delicious meals, and lots of Minnesota nice. Come experience the walleye capital of the world. Come experience Lake of the Woods. Catch the details at lakeofthewoodsmn.com.